Okay, welcome back. Chapter 4. This chapter was a huge pain in the ass to figure out. Unlike the last chapter, which was relatively uneventful, this chapter is pretty hectic because it's a pretty significant difficulty spike from the last ones. And you'll see here you'll see in a second that I've turned off battle animations because I retried this map so much to try to figure out a strategy that would actually work. And when the map takes like 50 minutes a pop, 50 minutes every try, I just got sick of seeing the same animations over and over and over again. So I have turned them off. I would ideally like to not turn them off as much as possible because I do like them, but I was so fed up by the end of this map that I turned them off. So you see, I've done a lot of actions right here, and I've pretty much, at this point, I had muscle memory figured out exactly what my first turn was. So basically what I've done is, I've plugged up the 3 bridge choke points, because these cavaliers are insanely bulky and strong. They're fast, they do damage, they have a lot of HP, and a lot of defense. They don't die, and there's no way for me to deal with them quickly enough to actually move forward. So I actually had to re-roll the map RNG until the cavalier that Marcus just killed had enough speed for him to double, because if Marcus did not double that cavalier, then my strategy was basically forfeit. It just wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to kill them all fast enough. And I also had to check to make sure that a bow cav that you'll see later did not have 10 speed. He had to have 9 speed, because if he had 10 speed he would double ward, and that would mean that at a certain point later in the map ward would die. So I had to check 2 things before I even started playing the map. And then after that it's still a bit finicky because my hit rates are never really good and some units have to die in certain spots. So you'll see here, my biggest issue was that bridge where Lance is right now, because Lance and Ward take so much damage from these guys, so much damage. Bors is actually relatively safe. He takes quite, he doesn't take much damage at all from most of these guys. It's just those 2 that I'm worried about, Lance and Ward. So here Marcus has to get onto the field, and you'll notice he's using a silver lance. He does not double any of these enemies except the sword cav that already died and another one that comes later. All the lance cavs and bow cavs do not get doubled, but they have so much bulk to them that I absolutely have to use the silver lance. There is no way that I'm gonna finish this map in time if Marcus isn't doing a significant amount of damage. You'll see here with Shanna, I've been moving to the left because there is an angelic robe in that village, and it is impossible. It is actually impossible for me to get that angelic robe if Shanna isn't the one to visit this village, because you'll see maybe even at the end of this turn, if not this turn then the next turn, that pirates are going to start spawning in the bottom right. And with 100% certainty, they will reach that village before I can. And I want that angelic robe, what can I say? She really doesn't have much time to get it, actually, because an archer to the left will start moving soon. And she'll get cornered by both of them if she doesn't move as quickly as possible. She even has to rely on getting some dodges later, but she's on a fort against axes without weapon triangle disadvantage, so it's not really too risky. As for the rest of my units, you'll see Marcus is surrounded because he doesn't kill these guys, so he has to, he simply has to vulnerary up, and I have to hope that my units can live, Ward and Bors and all that. HP, strength, speed for Bors, pretty solid. Strength is good. I'm just checking here to make sure that these guys can't reach around the bridge. One of them can, and we'll go for Wolt, but that's fine because Wolt doesn't get doubled and won't die. So here's the angelic robe. She has to go straight back. Shanna's route is really long, but it's the only way to get that angelic robe. And you'll see Alan at the top, I didn't talk about it, he went to that village and is now sitting next to two others who are also carrying people. All of them are carrying people because on turn 11, I believe it is, reinforcements will spawn from basically behind where Ward and Lance are. 4 Cavaliers. They're incredibly powerful. Well, I guess they're as powerful as the Cavaliers I'm fighting now, but my point is I can't fight all of them from this side, so I basically need to move these guys out of the way as soon as possible. So there, Roy had a chance to kill this guy and missed. Wolt had a chance to do damage and missed. So it's up to Marcus to come back and kill this guy, otherwise he would absolutely kill one of those 2 units. Unfortunate, but it had to happen. So on other runs, Marcus got level ups like strength, speed luck, res, but here he's just going to get HP. So I suppose that's the luck of Fire Emblem. You'll get the worst level ups on the runs that are actually successful. And with Lance and Ward there, you'll see I have to basically employ a strategy of leave them on the choke point for 1 turn, and then they'll take damage, and then I have to move back and drink a vulnerary and put the other one on. Basically a rotating door of bad units. And I didn't even talk about it earlier, Chlorine, the green troubadour, joined the field. She recruits herself, so that's why she's run up to Roy. She will run up to Roy and recruit herself, and we do need her to recruit a playable unit on this very map. So she's necessary. She won't be doing any healing, of course, because I'm not a dirty cheater. But here she'll recruit herself, and she'll be used to recruit Rutger later. So here I'm just depositing what I can into Molinas. Molinas has basically become my vulnerary carrier until I get a healer. I figured as long as he's force deployed, I may as well get some use out of him. So yeah, you see here, if this bow cav had 10 speed, Ward would 100% die this turn. You know, he might get some lucky dodges, but probably not. Wolt being useful there. There's already only 10 uses left on the Silver Lance, which really sucks, because it's a powerful weapon. But this map really warrants me killing as quickly as possible. And here I decide to just kill that Nomad, because I figured that Roy could get this kill, but he disappoints me and can't. So I'm just going to block the choke point with him because he can take a hit. Here I'm just making sure that Lance is a vulnerary. So that was the most intense part of the map, but it does get... the intensity remains throughout most of it. You'll see more pirates spawn. A lot of pirates spawn this map, so Shanna has some dodging to do. She is on a fort, and because she doesn't have a lance, she doesn't have weapon triangle disadvantage, so their hit rates must be awful. I don't know exactly what they are because animations aren't on, and I can't check because I don't have a weapon, but they must be pretty shit. And here Rutger and his groupies have spawned, so they're going to be coming towards the center of the map. Most of them are not too threatening. The only ones that I really care about are that Cavalier, because he can reach the rest of my units more quickly than I'd like him to. Here Shanna has to move to the other fort to avoid the rest of the pirates, and here I have to use the Silver Lance to kill this guy, because I really want to kill this guy. I really don't want a lot of enemies to surround Rutger so that I can actually recruit him. I'm going to trade it off of Marcus now, so that I don't waste it on this Cavalier. But it was unfortunate that I had to use even that. You see, it's only got 7 uses left now. Already. I think it had 16 left by the end of the last map, so using it more than I'd like. Here I've noticed that this Cavalier actually has a sword and not a lance, so it was kind of silly of me to be leaving Ward in range. But that's fine. Nice crit there from Lance and a level up. HP strength, very good. That crit, it was an important crit, I won't lie. That was an important crit, but even if he did not crit, I could have moved Roy in to get that kill if Lance hit at all. And you know, this is the kind of map where I absolutely need to get some good RNG anyway. because without it, the clear is impossible. So I've moved Chlorine up so she's in range of Rutger next turn. Shanna would not have died there even if she got hit because of the fort healing. So that's lucky. And a Hand Axe Pirate will fail because that's what Hand Axe Pirates do. You see there just how bulky these Cavaliers are. They don't get doubled and they don't take damage. They're incredibly difficult and annoying to deal with, and we already got through a horde of them, and there will be more. So here we're going to have Chlorine recruit Rutger, and Rutger is actually a really good unit in hard mode because he gets hard mode bonuses, which means that because he started as an enemy, he gets bonuses to his stats. And luckily enough, I've been gifted him as one of the units I get to use for this playthrough. So really fortunate there. He's a solid unit for hard mode, and he'll be helping out a lot in future maps, I reckon. Unfortunately, my Rutgers tend to be unlucky. Oh, perfect level up from Roy right there, by the way. My Rutgers tend to be unlucky not in the stat sense, but in the sense of dying to low percent random crits. Which did actually happen at one point. You'll see at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. My Rutger is pretty goddamn unlucky. Here I used him to whittle down that Cav because I want that Cav dead this turn. You might have noticed I left Chlorine in range of a bunch of stuff. Fortunately for us, the devs have made it so that enemies completely ignore Chlorine on this chapter. Because I guess that's because she runs towards us through the enemies, so if they were programmed to target her, she would probably die long before she reached us. So really nice on the devs part to make her invisible, I guess, to the enemies, even after recruitment. We can pretty much put her wherever we want. Nice crit there from Marcus. That crit didn't help too much because these guys are weak. You see there, I would have one-rounded anyway, with pretty much any sword unit. But it's helpful, you know, since we missed the first hit and all. Lance is incredibly weak here. He's taken a lot of damage. Solid miss from Ward there, really helping out. I decide to try and box this archer in, because I don't really have enough units to dedicate to taking him out this turn. There's a lot of pirates coming from the bottom right now, and they kind of need to be dealt with. I need to begin to set up a stand for me to deal with them, because they will definitely swarm and overwhelm my units pretty quickly if I don't start to thin their numbers here. I decide to leave Rutger in a bush with an iron sword so that he's not wasting his killing edge on pirates that don't need it. He doesn't actually one round with just an iron sword. He would one round with a killing edge, but not with an iron sword, so I guess that means extra XP for other people. It's kind of frustrating, really. I'd rather just be able to kill them with Rutger because there's so many of them. But here I do some rescue drop shenanigans to get Roy out of range of that hand axe, but next to Wolt, so that he's giving that support bonus. And with those three up the top, I just continue to move them. They're gonna grab that village for me eventually, and that will be their job for the rest of the map, just to keep all those units they're carrying safe and to get that village. And here Shanna has finally made it back to us, just in time really. She will dump off that angelic robe into Milady, and then her job would be done as well. So without her, that angelic robe would certainly be gone. I'm almost 100% certain. And I really want it. I really wanted it, because my units are weak, and any stat booster I can get would help. I figure it's not cheating if she's not fighting, right? Getting a nice kill on Wolt there. The best thing about these pirates is that they are some easy XP, since they get doubled by a few of my units and they take quite a bit of damage. But there is a lot of them. And you see here I'm moving markers back, and not forward, and that's because, as I mentioned earlier, some cavaliers are going to start coming from the right very, very soon, within the next 2 turns, I think, at this point. I haven't been counting while commentating, but I was counting while playing. And so I'm moving boars back as well to choke that bridge, because, as I said, they are incredibly powerful and I simply cannot beat them even within 2 turns. You'll notice to the left there's more cavaliers and such, more enemies, but they don't move until you get in their range. So I've purposely chosen to not go towards them. I have tried the strategy of continuing to move forward in the past, but the boss is incredibly strong here. I don't have any effective weaponry against him except the rapier, which is locked to Roy, who really can't do much damage with it anyway. And he does not die within the amount of turns it would require for me to keep everyone alive. So I absolutely must deal with every other enemy before I attempt to kill the boss, otherwise someone is going to get surrounded and killed. So you'll see there, these cavaliers, incredibly bulky. I get a crit with Marcus and one of them still has 8 health. They're incredibly strong. Here I start to try to get a cheeky kill with Ward and it works out for me. Marcus is actually strong enough to take a hit from all 3 of those guys, so it's something I could consider, but I opt not to. Here I think I step a little bit out of line. If I go for this kill with Wolt, which it seems I'm going to do, yeah, I really probably shouldn't have done that, because Wolt is out of position now, and it could really muck up my defense, but it works out because Lance is an OG, gets a crit, and now there's only, I think, 1 or 2 enemies that can attack Wolt, and Wolt has enough defense to survive that pretty easily. Get a steel blade from this village. Not entirely sure how useful that's going to be, but worst case scenario, it's a bit of extra gold. Best case scenario, we get to kill someone with it, so free stuff is free stuff. Can't really complain. Yeah, he was only in range of 1 enemy, it seems. And even if he was in range of multiple enemies, axes have such little hit that I wouldn't really be too scared. So you'll see here, it took a lot of trial and error to get to a point where I had this defensive setup figured out. Yeah, there's a lot of enemies to deal with. Originally, I would attempt to move forward as much as possible. I figured if I could get to the boss, then that would be the map. I'd be able to kill him and conquer before the rest of my units died. But that was not the case at all. The boss is incredibly tough, and at the end of the day, I have to kill everyone else before I attempt to kill him. Otherwise, it just would not work for me. Someone would die, inevitably. And see here, there's still so many pirates around. They spawned consecutively for quite a few turns there. But that's alright, because they're weak, unlike these cavaliers, which are annoyingly strong. Annoyingly strong. I don't really know what they were thinking making these enemies so strong so early on in the game. But here I made a bit of a mistake with Lance. He could have died this turn. HP, skill, speed, pretty damn good. Speed is good. He's getting ever close to reaching that point of being able to consistently double. Level up for boars as well. HP, strength, luck, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, so yeah, Lance could have died this turn, but luckily axes don't have any hit rate at all. And I dodged. Good for me. At this point, you haven't seen it, But I have restarted this map so much, I feel like I deserved a bit of luck there. And HP skill for Wolt, continuing to be, as always, the best unit in my army. Just a really solid archer. Good effort. I decided to get this kill with Roy. I got a crit. Didn't matter, obviously. Bit of a waste of the rapier, perhaps, but I really wanted to thin out these numbers and start to get rid of these goddamn pirates. Very, very sick of them. Doing some solid work with boars there as well. Every single map, it surprises me how much use I'm getting out of boars. Again, I believe it's because when you're being forced to play slowly, slow characters will shine. If you have to choke points, defensive characters will shine. So I am getting a lot of use out of him. Not that I'm saying he's a good unit, but he's working for me. So finally these cavaliers are starting to go down. If I had the halberd from last chapter that I wasn't able to get out of that chest, this chapter could have gone more quickly. But halberds have poor hit rate, very poor. So chances are that whatever strategy I could come up with using a halberd would have been just as risky as whatever I came up with here, if not more so. Here I'm really debating over whether or not I want to try to hit this guy with a steel axe. I really want to, but the hit rates are so bad I decided to just go with the iron axe instead. Probably the better move. In hindsight, I could have attacked him with Marcus first and then got the kill with Ward, but forgive me, I'd played this map for hours straight at this point, and you know, I wasn't all there. I was pretty tilted, gotta be honest with you. Just these last two guys left. Rutger can solidly get this kill, and this last guy stands no chance. Level up for Rutger. HP strength, pretty solid. Strength on a Myrmidon that's already fast is pretty damn good. And he's in the perfect spot to trade his iron sword to Roy, so I no longer have to waste the rapier. And I can get the kill with Wolt. More kills for Wolt. So now, the map is mostly beaten at this point. There is just the boss, these two cavs, and I think one or two archers left. I'm not going to say that this is a risk-free part of the map. I thought that last time, and it did not end up being the case. So here I'm just trying to memorize their ranges. Luckily these two cavs don't overlap in ranges entirely, so you can attack both of them with different units. Yeah, there's 3 cavs, 2 archers left, so I need Marcus for that. Decided to carry Boars a bit because there's otherwise no way that Boars is going to reach the front lines in a reasonable amount of time. And I'll just do some positioning and healing with the rest of my units and send Shanna to the shops. So here I buy a bunch of Iron Lances because I've noticed that that's what I don't have at the moment and I really need some. And some Iron Swords as well because I only have one. Rutger needs one so he doesn't waste his killing edge, and Roy needs one so he doesn't waste his rapier. And I also buy an Iron Bow because Wolt's Iron Bow only has a few uses left on it. I didn't notice, but it really is not going to last much longer, and if he doesn't have an Iron Bow, he's worthless. He's completely worthless. So, made sure that he has a weapon available. So now I can begin to set up to take down these two. Once they aggro, I believe the other cavalier aggros as well. So I need to make sure that my units are in the right position to deal with both of them. The cav on the bottom has a sword, and the cav above him has a lance. So I put lance in range to fight the sword cav, and I believe I put boars in range to fight the lance cav. Yes, I do. Because boars can easily take multiple hits. just moving my units up to make sure that I can surround them. And here I decided to buy as many vulneraries as I can, which I think is like 4, because I'm going to need them probably. I ran through a lot of vulneraries this map and the last map as well, and I think there's still a chapter or 2 before Saul joins me, so I'm going to need some healing, I imagine. Based boars not taking any damage from these cavs, but also not doing that much damage, and Lance taking a lot of damage. Even with Lance's speed, he's not doubling these cavaliers, which is really kind of frustrating. Again, I don't know why they made these cavs so strong for the 4th chapter, but what can you do? I decided to get some chip damage with Wolt because why not? And it allows me to get the kill with Lance. So now we just have this other cav left. I feel confident putting boars in range of the other cav because he doesn't take any damage. And Rutger should be able to get the kill. So here I've left Wolt in range accidentally, but luckily Ward is in range to pick him up, and Roy is not strong enough to carry his friend. He's not strong enough to pick him up and put him down again, so that's unfortunate, but it's not like Wolt is incredibly useful, so it's not a huge loss. And this guy actually does damage to boars. It's very impressive, well done. Not all that much damage, mind you, but still impressive. I decide it's a better idea to try to hit this guy with Marcus because he's a cav and he's bulky as hell. I actually heal first. I figured I can surround this guy. I decided to not hit him there because if Boars took both those hits, he wouldn't live the next turn, especially with that archer. Here I'm just calculating whether or not I can actually kill this cavalier on this turn, who's healthy enough to take hits and who isn't. Because he's still at full health. So here I'm debating whether or not it's worth it to go for a crit. I decided to do so, and I am rewarded. I am rewarded with the critical hit. So the video music is going to start playing now, but trust me, we are not exactly home clear. Not by a long shot. The boss here is the most difficult one that we've been forced to face so far. So I'm going to be doing some extra healing, slight positioning. I don't really need to be healing everyone here because only a few units are going to be fighting against the boss anyway, but you know, habit combined with tiredness equals bad decisions, I suppose. Well done, Boars. Boars is typically reliable for me, so I can't really be too mad at him for missing that. Here I noticed that I can actually box this guy in with the help of Shanna, so Shanna continuing to be useful, and I can just put some units that are not going to be fighting the boss ever in the way so that this guy can't move and can't hit anybody. Except Rutger. Rutger may be able to fight the boss, but he's not going to. Surprise. Now, Rutger can fight this boss. This boss does have a steel sword equipped initially, so he can fight the boss without being in too significant of a disadvantage. But the boss has 3% crit against him, and as you'll see at the end of the video, there's a reason I didn't let him fight again this time. So I'm instead going to give the killing edge to Marcus, and Marcus will go up and kill this archer so that he's not pestering me while I deal with the boss, as I move up the rest of my units to be moral support for Marcus as he fights the boss, and also rescue droppers, in case Marcus needs healing or whatever. So now we're on the final stretch. You'll notice there's still a bit left of the video, and that's because this boss is... well, this boss is a bit of a handful, I'll be honest. As we'll get to see probably next turn. We'll get to see the matchup. Here I'm just checking to see if Ward can do anything, and he can do damage, but he will 100% die. So that's not happening. Here I'm trying to heal up Rutger because despite what I just said, I know that Rutger can fight the boss, and I'm not sure if I'm going to need him to try. Hopefully not, which is why I've given Marcus the killing edge, and here we're going to try. So you see, he takes so much damage from this boss, so much damage. And here begins the long process of whittling down the boss. Now I don't exactly know why I did that right there. Could have easily just left Marcus in range. And here I'm healing Rutger just because Rutger can fight if the boss has a steel sword. So I'm going to attempt to crit this guy. That's really what I want to do. The reason, oh, I just remembered, the reason I'm moving Marcus out of range after every turn is because if I don't do that, the boss will switch to the javelin, which the killing edge obviously has a weapon triangle disadvantage against, and that would make it really difficult to kill him. So you see there, the boss has 2% crit, which is why I'm not using Rutger. At this point, I tried this map so many times, I really did not want to restart again over something that silly. So yeah, you see there, he has a javelin. If Marcus stays in range at the end of a turn, the boss will switch to the javelin, and then I would basically be forced to use the Silver Lance, but my Silver Lance only has 3 uses left, and I don't think that's enough to kill him, even if all of them hit. So instead I have to bank on this crit landing. It's not happening for me, despite being a killing edge. I'm not getting lucky at all. Really quite unfortunate. So here I want to attack, but I know I can't. I actually do leave him in range here. I must have forgotten that he'll switch to a javelin. Yeah, at this point I've been playing this map for so long that slip-ups like that start to happen. I'm not even paying attention to the battle screen anymore. I just want the map over, and I'm just leaving Marcus in range, because I figure that he'll eventually crit, which he does, eventually, but not as quickly as I would like him to, considering he's using a weapon specifically designed to allow for critical hits. So you see how much of a pain bosses are in FE6 in general, but in hard mode specifically. They are incredibly tanky, and thrown bonuses are really insane in this game. It's 3 defense and 30 avoid, I believe. So they're incredibly difficult to take down if your units are somewhat weak. Marcus is the only unit here apart from Rutger who can survive a round of combat with this guy, and Rutger can die to a crit, so it's all up to Marcus. The vulnerary is not healing as much damage as he can do, so eventually Marcus is gonna have to take a turn off just to heal twice so that he doesn't die. But hopefully we can kill this guy before that happens. Finally we get a crit, which leaves this guy at 1 HP and levels up Marcus. HP def, that's okay. Def is good for a frontline unit. And finally, we can almost get the kill. I am going to wait 1 turn longer, because if I missed the hit here and died, I would probably have broken my computer. But luckily Marcus does not die. And instead, Eric doesn't. But he will die soon. Trust me. He will die soon. See there, 52% hit. Incredible. So there it goes. That's chapter 4. Thank God I'm done with this map, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the bonus part.